Carlos, get
Start
out.
getting some people getting on here.
Carlos, out.
Juan!
Walking away.
Juan's back!
Let me reload and enter.
Oh.
I'll just split screen so I can still see the notes.
Carlos deserves to die. Why would I not? He's a jerk.
I'm not gonna lie, I joined.
Sorry, JC.
Go away.
I'd say Anthony's my dad, but it's probably not his name, and I don't know him, so...
Wait.
We should start every class this way, like, when we get back. With random music and dancing.
Yes.
We got 13. That's like almost half the class.
Carlos.
Oh, now we got 12. We lost someone. I'm important. That's why I didn't have, remember, I had 1.87 when you first commented on that, JC, but now I'm up to 1.93, so it's just quality content and overall being amazing. What do you say?
You can act up.
Well, I get to pretend I'm popular. I'm not. This being the social distancing and quarantine thing is kind of like, I know you said sing Mulan, and I know I didn't sing Mulan. I know that, Alonzo. I know. But I will at some point. Carlos says she has a famous teacher. I don't know about famous. But you have a teacher. Alonzo, you, boy, you're getting brave being over the internet. All right. So we have 16 of you, which is a good number considering it is, I don't know, Wednesday morning. A bunch of your classmates, Christian, are still sleeping. So, you know, whatever. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to remind those of you who looked at the, or you logged in for the SL class, you already know this, but Ayana's monitoring the chat. The only reason she's doing that, of course, is to make sure I can give demerits. No, I'm kidding. Is if you have questions as we're going along, definitely throw those in there because it doesn't matter if I've got my back to the screen or whatever. She'll see them. She'll get my attention and be like, "Ooh, he's awake? Crazy." Carlos is awake too, which is also really crazy. But I had to wake him up because he's got to go get brace pictures done. Anyway, so we're going to go over this. Yes. We're going to talk a little bit about the pedigree thing. I'm going to go through this. I don't know if you've read it or not, if you've done it or not. If you did, JC says, hi, Carlos. If you did it, great. You can check your work. If you haven't done it yet, you can get an idea. All right. So I'm going to start by reading this. If you don't have this printed, if you didn't do it, tears. But that's okay because follow along with us anyway. And then as you're doing it, you can go back. You can rewatch the video. I am going to ask some questions. When I ask the questions, answer the questions in the chat. And Ayana will tell me what you said. Okay, so reading this. Construct a pedigree using the following story. Some basic rules for making a pedigree. Males are represented as squares, females are represented as circles. A marriage is represented by a horizontal line connecting a circle and a square. Where do we get it? You get it in the Google Classroom. It's all there, Google Classroom. Thank you. Children are listed in order of birth. Very important. Now, I like how it throws that in there, but when you read the story, for most of the children, it doesn't tell us the order of birth. Jerks. A genotype for that person will be presented below each circle or square. We'll do that at the end. Generations are numbered on the left using Roman numerals. Important. Individuals are numbered from left to right in a generation, and a shaded individual has the affected trait. Yeah, I did say to ask questions if you have them. So. What?
Carlo was confused with the twins.
We're going to get to it, Carla. We're going to go through this all, kiddo. Don't worry, I got you. I got you. But thank you for letting me know that. Okay. I apologize for that. I got a message about something else. And yeah, that's 2 for Ulrich.
How important was the numbering of each person?
Who asked that?
I don't know. They got a bunch of numbers in their name.
We are going to go through. Then you will see. Okay? Okay. Okay, so.
It was Christian.
It's okay, Christian. It's not hugely important. It just helps so you understand, especially when you're looking back at a pedigree. But what I want to do first is I want to go through this. So I'm going to read this. Most of you probably already did. I'm going to read it anyway. My name is Steve Thacker. I'd like to tell you about an experience I had that taught me some important lessons about genetics. For years, my dad, John Thacker, has been telling me stories about his family, his father and mother, his 2 sisters and 3 brothers. Our family moved from his hometown in Ohio to California when I was only a year old. So I've never really known the people he was talking about. His stories made me very curious about all these relatives of mine that I'd never seen. Okay, so we know we're going to talk about this family, and we're going to start with, it's the Thacker family, we're going to start with the grandparents, because we're going to go ahead and throw those onto our Grandpa Lay. Craigie Bear! So we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw the grandparents on there. Hopefully this shows up well. Okay, so we've got the grandparents on here, and we're going to, over here with the Roman numerals, this is generation 1. This is the old people. This is
Boomer.
Boomer. This is the boomers. Is that Carlos's phone or is that my phone?
I think that's your phone.
Well, who cares?
Because of my laptop.
How dare people not know that I'm alive? All right. So we got that. We've got the grandparents. We also know that we're going to have at least his father. Now, one of the things that I did when I did my version of this is I didn't make the spouses of the Thacker grandparents. I didn't make their spouses very big because we don't have information on them. All the information is about the Thacker family itself. Okay, so we'll go through. So then he got hometown, dad, Hartley, wait. Now he mentions his family finally. Now, one of the things that the son does, right? The son of the Thackers, because here's, we'll put Marie over here, and then we're going to have their kids. Is the first thing he says, hey, I was a year old when we moved. We haven't been back in 15 years. So we know he's 16. And so we'll put him right here. Whoop, he's a square. And this is Steve. Right? Yeah, and his dad is John. And his mother is Marie. Now I've made this way far over here, but this right here, this is generation 2. I should have put it in a better spot. This is generation 2, and that makes this generation 3. I made it a little sloppy. I know. I'm sorry. Okay, now Steve has 2 twin sisters who are 12, and he's got a little brother. So the twin sisters, that's when we have this, the almost a triangle. So I'll make that a little bit darker, so we know we can get them on. And then he has a little brother as well. Now you notice I've kind of stopped with some of the names. That's just for the interest. Now, then the rest of this page goes on, and it's just backstory, like, oh, we were driving, we met each other, we were hugging, and it was happy times. I don't care. But then when we get to the back, or the second page, now we're getting more information about the family. For the twins, don't you have to put a line connecting them? So there's a lot of different ways that they are. Now, we could put the line connecting. We're not sure if these are actual fraternal or identical twins. We don't have a lot of information on that because it doesn't go too much into them. So we do know. Yes, Ashley. Line run between the twins because they aren't identical. We don't know. They could be identical or they could be. It's a different thing. So what we're going to do is we just know that this means multiple births. So that's the important thing that we have that. Ashley, do you have a question or are you just being... I feel like Steve is adopted.
Minecraft Steve. 4 demerits for going to the bathroom. Detention hours.
You're the worst, Adam. Okay, so then we get down to the family. There's Aunt Shirley, Uncle Pat, and Uncle Dave. And what we get as we're going along is finger issue. So they've got extra fingers, something called polydactyly. Now the first one who we know exhibits this polydactyly is Grandpa Thacker. So we're gonna shade in Grandpa Thacker. We all did that properly, right? Because we've all done this. Even Ashley. Okay, so then the next thing we have, we'll say Aunt Shirley, because he checked out Aunt Shirley. Okay, and Aunt Shirley, Uncle Pat, Uncle Dave, all have it. So we'll say SH, Pat. Ooh, that's a little close. Dave. These 3 all have it. The excitement. Again, they have. Dad was right. Uncle Pat has 3 girls and Aunt Shirley's daughter Sue has it. And when you work out the numbers, there's 28 of them. So we do this, and we say Aunt Shirley's got a daughter. She has it. We go over to Uncle Pat. Dad was right. Pat has 3 girls and a boy. Pat's got a lot of kids. Come on, Pat. Pat Wilden, Anna, you're right. So Pat has 3 girls and a boy. One of his girls and his boy have it. So we'll say this one and this one because, again, it doesn't specify, so we're doing what we can. Uncle Dave has a boy, Dan, who doesn't have it, and a girl, Karen, who does. So Uncle Dave over here. You got an Uncle Dave. I don't know if the kids do, Anna, but you do, so.
Natalia cannot see.
Well, I'm in the way. I apologize, Natalia. I will get out of the way. But we're going to explain this in a moment. And then, of course, then he's got Gary and Betty. Betty has a son, Jim. And Gary has 2 daughters. None of those have the condition. So I'm going to hopefully be out of the way. So we've got here. She has 1 child. I think it was a daughter. I think it was a son, actually. And then Gary, he has 2 daughters, and they don't have it. So this would be our completed pedigree. I'm going to do a little bit more shading just to make it look a little more apparent who's got it and who doesn't. Are you with this so far? Does this all make sense? I went along, yes.
Does it matter the order you put the aunts and uncles since it doesn't really say who's the oldest to youngest?
Perfect. This is a perfect question. Again, no. The reason is if it did say who was oldest to youngest, we would really want to make sure that we did. Because it doesn't mention exactly what their age is, the way that I did it is just to try to make it make sense from what information we have, right? You have to use whatever data you're given and go from there. If we weren't given complete data, so no, it doesn't matter the order of them. The only ones that we had actual birth order for was Steve and his siblings. So we know that Steve is 16. We can deduce that by doing a little math, and then his sisters are 12, and then his brother is, I believe, 8. So for those, we know the birth order. So those are the only ones that we have to make sure we put in the order. The rest of them we're able to fill in as they go. So I only did it just based on this. So the first question is the trait carried on the autosomatic, meaning body cells, or on the sex chromosomes? So based on what you came up with, where are the next 2 pairs in the name? Wait, what do you mean the next 2 pairs? So this is, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then here are all of the children. There's kind of a, because this board is kind of not a lot of room. So this is the third generation. Let me make sure I got every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25, 27, 28. This is everybody. Because he mentions he has 28 family members, and this is all of them. So the question is, and I'm going to monitor this, see who answers it. Is this on the autosomatic or the sex chromosomes? If you already answered, answer again. But what is the answer? Autosomatic.
Thank you.
That is correct. To
Christian and Isabel got it first.
okay. Why? How do you know that? Though. How do you know that? Oh, now everybody. Oh, it's autosomal. But how do we know this, Carla? How do you know that it's autosomatic? Calling you out.
What happened?
Nothing, Carlos. I said Carla, not Carlos. You don't know anything, boy. Punk. No, but how do you know, Carla, that it's autosomatic? Are you a slow typer? Do you want somebody else to help you? Type, 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 type. Type, type.
She's learning to type right now, bro.
She's blowing me off. She's like, I'm not answering your question, old man. Okay, well, you think about that. Let's go to question 2, shall we? We shall. Is it a dominant or recessive trait? Awkward, war. Yeah, I know. Is it dominant or recessive? Dominant or recessive? Dominant or recessive? Yes, I know what you
Recessive.
meant. Wait.
One.
Dominant or
says dom-
recessive? Who says dominant?
One. JC.
JC, a lot of we got some recessive because when I look
Yasmin.
between the sex link and autosome, I noticed that it couldn't be an X, right? Carla, that's a good answer. You're correct. JC says dominant.
Yasmin.
Yasmin says me.
She
No.
said dominant.
Oh, okay. Being passed by also dominant. So this is dominant. This is dominant. It's being passed by all. Interesting. It's dominant. So it's being. This means if it's dominant, what we know automatically if it's dominant, because this is the last. This is one of the last people or parts of it. The last question is, are the people with the trait homozygous or heterozygous? And pink doesn't really show up well. What we know from our instructions is the last part is we need to put everyone's genotype under them. So we know if people don't have it, if the condition is dominant, then automatically they're going to be lowercase. And they're going to be completely homozygous recessive. But then the people who do have it, because if Grandpapa Thacker, if he was homozygous dominant, then everybody on this chart would have the condition, probably. Well, at least half of them would, because he would have given it to all of his children, and then they would have had a 50-50 chance of spreading it to theirs. But all of his children would have had it. And we know that that's not the case, so because if it's dominant and not all of his children have it, he of course has to be heterozygous. And once he's heterozygous, then we know that that's what. Now here, it becomes a little questionable, because again, in this generation, nothing is said about these siblings, right? But here, they don't have it, so we know that this mother doesn't. So we know that so we would say that people are heterozygous. So you came to that conclusion due to the ratios. Yeah, you came to the conclusion due to the ratios. It's exactly what it is. You have to look at the ratios of it, and you have to see how it spreads. Now remember, yes?
What would be the best way to determine autosomal dominant or recessive?
Okay, so if it's autosomal dominant, right, one of the biggest things is it's not going to skip a generation. If it's autosomal recessive, we're going to expect that it skips a generation. There's no skipping of a generation here. We see it in all 3 generations that we have. And because we see it in all 3 generations that we have listed, we're going to automatically say, okay, this is almost definitely autosomal dominant. And then when we plug in how it would work, we see that it fits. So that's really, if we looked at it and we flipped it and we had it as recessive, you'd see there'd be, a little problematic. Wouldn't quite fit as beautifully. Yeah. Any other questions? Do we have any other questions? Questions, comments, observations, songs? Nothing? You feel good about this? Do we feel good about this? I'm going to assume yes. Okay. So moving forward. Okay, wait, now all of a sudden.
They're just saying they're good.
Oh, okay. I don't know why this keeps popping up, the Learn a TikTok, but it does.
Shaza does TikTok.
So I know. Have I cooked anything good? Hang on a second, I'll answer that quick. For the Learn a TikTok, next week, at the start of every class, I will do a TikTok. Yes, Ayana, what's the question?
Carla says, dominant it will, consistent, and recessive not. There's a word missing in there, but...
Yes, but I get what she's saying, and yes, Carla. Fantastic.
Lots of requests for Renegade.
Okay, that one then. That is the one I will learn. You have to do a TikTok. I just did one, and it came out so ugly.
Can we not
Okay.
do Renegade? I have PTSD from it.
We will. Ayana says Renegade she has PTSD from, so we're going to do that because
my math test.
it is hilarious to mess with Ayana. So next week at the start of all the classes, I will do that for you. Do a TikTok based on how much you love us. Okay, I will. Yeah, I don't have TikTok, so I'll get TikTok and do a TikTok based on how much I love you. Or maybe I'll do it based on how much I love Matthew, which will be a very short TikTok. What was the last thing? Can I send you? You should all be sharing your TikToks, of course. I don't know.
Post them on Classroom.
Yes, post them on Class. Okay. I love this. I like a lot of TikTok extra credit stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna. I can't do this for you. Okay, so going back. Is the new TikTok? It is the new TikTok. Okay, so going back really quickly to this kind of stuff. The thing that I loved about this is a lot of you already had an idea of what was going on. You'd already gone through this. That's really important for the next one we do on Wednesday. Come ready in the same way. It'll make it easy. We'll be able to just, Sarah, we'll be able to just run through this and make it all wonderful. If you have any questions in the interim between now and next week, feel free to email me and I will answer them.
You sound like Goofy.
I know. At this point, I think only doing one like video class session a week should be fine. If you feel as a class like you'd rather do like a second one, we can do that. We can look at that next week, but I think we should be fine with just one. Extra credit office hours.
Are they postponing the SAT? Not yet.
So I did see something that were this in regards to that question. I did see something about the College Board was looking at doing that. I can't say 100%. What I would say is, I heard they are if the pandemic still goes on. If you do have any of these types of questions, don't worry if it's a question that you don't think I can answer, because our principal, Mr. Schmitovich, has been pretty open about like emailing us and talking to us. So if there's a question that you have, hang on, Ayana. If there's a question that you have and I don't have an answer for, I'll text him, find out the answer, and then share that with you. Okay. Who had a question?
Christian says, "Oh, do you want us to keep our digital stuff to ourselves till we come back to class?"
For now, let's go ahead and do that. The big reason why I'm going to say, yeah, keep your digital stuff to yourself and keep your work to yourself is because what I think otherwise I'm going to end up with is I'm going to have some classes, this one in particular, where I'll have a lot of work from, and then other classes where I don't have much, or some people who run into issues with uploading stuff, and it just makes it not fair and equal for everybody. So what we want to do is let's just say, okay, do what you can, have it ready. When we come back to class, we'll review everything. So once we get back, we'll spend a day or two. At this point, I'm still holding out optimistic hope, let's say, that on the 31st we'll be back, in which case we'll spend a couple of days just reviewing, making sure that we're all set up and then getting ready. Thank you for liking my shirt.
For the new packet, do we
Sorbet
print it
Jungle.
out?
Sorbet Jungle. For
Or
the
do
new
we write it on a
packet.
piece of paper?
For the new packet, the new note packet. The reason that I put the new note packet on there is for you. If it is more convenient for you to print it out, wonderful. If you cannot print it out, that's fine. When we get back, I'll print out copies for anybody who needs them, and then you can fill it in there later. I just didn't want, I wanted you to have the option. Is it true that school will be suspended till April 14th because my mom woke me up in the morning? At this point, CPS hasn't said that. At this point, all CPS has said is that until the 31st, and everything is fluid, so we're seeing what will go on as new data emerges. I think the thing right now, right, is we want to make sure that everybody, the city wants to make sure, we all want to make sure that everybody can be as healthy as possible and that we're not spreading the illness to a lot of other people. So don't worry. Obviously, I'm not going to say go on with life as normal because I really don't want any of you to get sick and I don't want you to get other people sick. So just follow the precautions, wash your hands, kind of stay away from large crowds for now, and let's just go on and let's do as much as we can and just keep preparing for the fact that at some point everything is going to return to normal, right? That's going to happen, and of course your mom gets scared if you cough right now. Right now is kind of a paranoid time. But just stay focused, stay happy, just keep moving, and everything will be okay. All right, everything.
Daniel said
will be
use
okay.
hand sanitizer, question mark?
No, don't use hand sanitizer. Use soap. Wash your hands. Everybody, wash. Here, it's 30 seconds. Sing a song. Sing a song. Sing a song. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? Emily, I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna beat you.
No, Daniel said with cold water.
With cold toilet water, actually, is the best, Daniel. That's what I want you to do. Wash your hands with cold toilet water, and don't use soap. Don't use soap, Daniel. Don't do that. Just use, actually, drain cleaner. Good for your hands.
Bleach.
Fantastic. Nobody do that, actually. Don't do that, because somebody's going to do that, and then they're going to be like, Mr. Loy said to do it. No, don't. Soap and water, warm water, wash your hands. 30 seconds. All right. So, does anybody have any other... does anybody have any actual real questions about work? Because it is now 12:15. I have to get set up and prepared for 12th grade, so I can go over the work that they all no doubt did and are ready to talk about. So does anybody have any questions about pedigree type things, or whatever? Sarah and Emily, who are just bored and we're like, hey, let me see what Rodrigo, I just woke up. Rodrigo, fortunately you can rewatch this video once I fully upload it. A few minutes, like in 10 minutes, you can rewatch the whole thing again. It was fantastic. Probably
You can restart it right now.
he could. This is probably the greatest content on all of YouTube right now. It's fantastic.
On
Thank
YouTube, because Mr. King got Twitch.
All right. Let's talk about the heart, because I think you stole mine.
That's like the thing about step up and be a man.
For generation 3, is female or male the one to your left? The one that I put in a circle? So I made that. That's supposed to be male. That's our buddy Steve. That's Steve, and I just messed up. I made a mistake. I do that a lot. All right. So that's this class session. I'm going to take a break for 15 minutes to reset and get ready for the 12th grade class. So you gonna invite Evans next time? No, I'm not gonna invite Evans. He's been to my house once. He does, I mean, there's an open invitation for Mr. Carrillo. He could always come by. He could always come by. That's the boy right there. But not Yasmin. No, why? What? Why what? Why? What? What, Alonzo? All right, everyone. There you go. We don't allow. Yeah. All right. So goodbye. I'm gonna shut down for the next 15 minutes. Son. Just using hand sanitizer. Yeah, that's Evans is probably
Drinking
just using
hand sanitizer. Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
sanitizer. Yeah, that's why. That's what he's doing. Next. All right. I will see you in a little bit. Goodbye. Have fun. See you next week. Nice. I can't even close the video.